Rick Rizzuto on the vocal. Here's a song that Polka Hall of Famer Mr. Andy D made famous, one called the Hey Musicanci Polkas. There you go, a little Chicago style Uncle Lou's music for you.
Everybody! Hey, 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 muzykanci! Patrzcie na muzykę, albo na panienki, wszystkie są piękne, najpiękniejsza jest moja.
Thank you very much. Christina Law. This gentleman, I think, knew all the words. All right, polka medley time. The medley of a couple of songs here. One called the Looking for a Sweetheart Polka, and then we're going to feature Laura on one called the Polish Boyfriend Polka. Here we go.
I'm going to send it out for Lindsay, who did a great, fabulous job at the banquet this morning. Thank you, Lindsay. Katie's here too. Happy Gilmore.
Wait, where's our future son-in-law? Where is he? He's back in the room.
He's in the hallway smoking dope. That's when the fire alarm went off.
You set off the fire alarm.
We got B3 here. Bernie Dorick the third of the Polka Generation. Fine concertina player. He used to be in real good shape, but I don't think he's working out as much anymore.
much. Polka medley there for you. All right, we're going to slow it down, waltz time, but don't leave because you guys are all going to help to sing along and help us out on this one. And then leave a couple Eddie B waltzes.
Hey, Danny, did you see who's here? Whitey and Kathy out there. Whitey Riggins. One of the original White Eagles. And he still looks white. And Kathy, nice to see him. Nikki D is in the house.
Also, Ralph Sabatini is in the house.
Nikki, thanks for fixing Johnny's accordion. It at least sounds decent. Before it sounded like,
Hey, don't forget Devon. Beautiful Devon's here.
Ralph, I just learned a couple of your licks on that last song, so that'd be fun.
Here we go, waltz medley time. Sing along with this one called Dance With Me Once Again, Darling, and as life rolls on. So here we go.
All the time. You don't do it 100 times.
Here I am once again asking you to dance with me tonight. Sadly pretending I'm happy, but God above only knows why. I know that I made my mistakes here by telling you things that weren't true. Don't worry about being too near, as I have this life and you. Dance with me once again, darling, so you no longer be mine. Soften the pain that I'm starting. Dance with me just one more time.
Place
'cause we're all sisters and brothers. Should I realize and share? We've all got to stick together, and things in this world will get better forever someday. Out of this great land, and for what it stands, 1,000 stripes, red, white, and blue. Each cities and towns and different countryside, even this great land for me and you. As life goes on and on, we've got to love one another. Cause we're all sisters and brothers. Should I realize and share? We've all got to stick together, and things in this world will get better forever one day.
Alright, everybody, sing along with us one more time. Here we go. Let's hear it.
Life goes on and on.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We got to love one another. Kochani drugiego.
Sounds like church.
Because we're all sisters and brothers. Shievani and share.
Singing wigs.
We all got to stick together, and things in this world will get better forever someday.
Thank you for helping us out with that song.
Love that song.
We're going to feature Johnny Crabbish on the vocal right now for you. Here's one called The Onions Polka.
Onions.
Do this one for Patrick and Kayla. We just give me the finger.
We're going to do this song for all of our Canadian friends. There's so many of you. We love you so much. You're our family.
Hi, Jerry. Jerry.
Here we go.
Jerry.
Bye.
Hey, Johnny, look, Debbie Vodka's here, John.
All right, here we go. Vocal time one more time here for you. Here's one called I Get So Lonely, Polka.
Put Kevin on the vocal here. We begin with I Get So Lonely.
I Get So Lonely, polka. Thank you very much. We have time for a couple more here before we're going to turn things over to Clinic and friends.
That campfire alarm.
We're going to do this one especially for Al Bullock and especially for Dave. He wanted to hear Kevin do popcorn, right?
Tony, bring your shoe.
All right, we're going to feature Kevin on one called the popcorn polka request.
Audience participation, we need some clapping because the more you clap, the more his fingers move. Just saying.
Not at this point of the night.
All right, my request for the box players here, of course, the box players' request is.
Game marriages. And the Triops are here. Beautiful, very good. We're singing next year, girl, you and me. We're doing it.
Okay, give her, come.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, we got time for one more here. We want to be respectful of the clock here because we went a little bit over on our last set with all the Hall of Famers. Did you guys all enjoy all the Hall of Famers that came up and said? Give a nice round of applause to all of them that came up. We really enjoyed that portion of the show. So real quick, all the guys in the band and girls in the band, I'd like to introduce them all to you. Starting on my left on the concertina, how many nice round of applause for Kevin Altenberg, everybody. Behind him on the bass guitar, all the way from Wisconsin, how about a nice round of applause for Jason Anschutz. Next to him on the accordion and vocals, playing with a bum arm, but he's doing a hell of a job, isn't he, everybody? Give him a nice round of applause. Johnny Krabish on the accordion.
He's taken, he just wanted sympathy.
Playing with an injury. All the way in the back, my brother from another mother, who we played together for about 40 years. How about a nice round of applause for Ray Melvin, who's on drums. Next to to me on vocals. How about a nice round of applause for my wife, Laura? And then to the right of me on the trumpet, Vocal Hall of Famer, Mr. Rick Mizuko, everybody. Yours truly, I'm Danny Mateo. We are the IPA tribute band. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed our show. And we're going to wind things up with a little bit of a medley here done by Eddie B back in 1968, one called Let's Hear a Polka. So here we go. Thank you. Planet and Friends coming up right after us.
Here is Miriam Lush and her private polka band.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the IPA tribute band. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Clinic and Friends coming right up for you from the beat. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you. We'll do a quick one. We had a request for good wishes, so.
All right, guys, this is our line dance that we do to the Downtown Sound song that my Lindsay loves so much. So if anyone wants to line dance, come on up here. We're going to do it right now. Be there.
Here we go.